Behind the headlines, Carnism. During the most recent Olympic Games in Beijing, many Americans expressed outrage after learning many of the Chinese city's restaurants served entrees containing dog meat. The Beijing Tourism Bureau eventually decided to take dog off menus during the games, but the controversy sparked a vibrant discussion about meat eating in general. Now, a new book further explores the issue by attempting to answer the question, why do we love dogs, eat pigs, and wear cows?
The easiest way for me to answer that question is with an illustration. So imagine that you're at a fancy dinner party. You're sitting at a beautiful table, you're enjoying the conversation, you're drinking the fine wine, you're eating a delicious beef stew. And in fact, the stew is so delicious that you ask your host for the recipe. And flattered, she replies, sure, the secret ingredient is the meat. You use 3 pounds of well-marinated golden retriever. Now, stop for a minute and think about your thoughts and feelings upon hearing that. Chances are the meat on your plate is no longer food to you, but looks like a dead animal. Your reaction is an example of what I call carnism.
Psychologist Melanie Joy coined the term carnism to explain Americans' love affair with dogs and hamburgers. She says carnism is an invisible belief system ingrained in us from birth.
In order to eat meat, we need to disconnect psychologically and emotionally from the truth of our experience. We need to numb ourselves. Like many Americans, when I was growing up, I had a dog who I loved like a family member. And like most Americans, I grew up eating meat, often multiple times a day. And I never thought about how I could pet Corky and eat my burger and not recognize the inconsistency in my attitudes and behaviors toward animals. So I had this knowing without knowing.
Dr. Joy says carnism has a lot in common with other isms, especially sexism.
The system itself is structurally similar to other systems that are built around exploitation, in that it uses one group, in this case it's animals, or in particular farmed animals, to serve the interests of another group. And it uses certain defenses to prevent humane people from recognizing what they're doing when they're participating in the system. There's a growing body of literature looking at the connection between meat and masculinity. And it's very interesting. Eco-feminists are feminists who examine the way in which patriarchy, male dominance, has seen women, animals, and nature as, meant to be domesticated, consumed, and owned by men.
But Dr. Joy stresses her intention is not to lecture people on why they shouldn't eat meat, and says her book is geared toward vegetarians and meat eaters alike.
Why We Love Dogs is a book not simply about why people shouldn't eat meat. It's about why people do eat meat. I wanted to raise awareness of people who are eating meat, so that they could make informed choices as citizens and consumers, because without awareness, there is no free choice. I wrote the book for vegetarians because I wanted vegetarians to be able to feel more grounded and empowered in their own choices. I wanted vegetarians to be able to feel more compassion toward carnists and the carnists in their lives, to have an understanding that asking somebody to stop eating meat isn't simply asking for a change in behavior. It's asking for a shift of consciousness, and people typically don't make this change until they're psychologically ready.
Dr. Joy says carnism makes people forget the fact that eating an animal, regardless of what kind it is, may not be in line with their morals and values. She believes once recognized, Americans will be less likely to believe only certain animals are edible.
I do believe that when people become aware of carnism, that they will make choices that are in the best interest of themselves, other animals, and the planet. Most people care about animals. Most people do not want to cause animals to suffer. I've been teaching and speaking about meat production for 2 decades now, and not once have I come across a person who doesn't cringe when they're exposed to images of animals in pain. People care.